In the sprawling, unforgiving Imperium, the gravity of a crime is not measured by its immediate impact, but by the relentless burden it imposes upon the vast, intricate machinery of justice designed to utterly crush it. Within the grimy confines of Tertius Magna's lower hive, beneath colossal manufactorums that incessantly belch Prometheum smoke into the choked, recycled air, a young man named Cale Morin cautiously extends his hand toward a baker's stall. The bread, 3 days stale and hard as rockcrete, bears the revered Imperial Aquila stamp and is priced at a sum equivalent to 2 weeks' wages for a factory laborer. Cale's fingers, trembling slightly, close around the hardened loaf. In that solitary, desperate moment, he transcends his identity as merely a hungry citizen of the Imperium. He transforms into a distinct problem that the system is now compelled to solve. Hovering near the market's stained ceiling, a cybernetic servo skull instantly registers the theft through its augmented optical sensors. Its voxcaster chirps a rapid, precise binary code to the nearest Adeptus Arbites monitoring station, where a duty officer's cogitator screen flickers to life with an influx of new data. The crime is classified as petty theft. The perpetrator, identified through facial recognition, is Cale Morin. His location is meticulously logged, and sentence parameters immediately begin to load. What follows is not justice, as the ancient Terran philosophers might have conceptualized it, but rather the cold, grinding, mechanical precision of imperial law. This is a system so staggeringly vast and complex that individual human suffering becomes nothing more than an inconsequential data point in ledgers stretching across entire sectors. The Adeptus Arbites, the grim enforcers of the Emperor's will, concern themselves not with motivation, circumstance, or the frivolous concept of mercy. Instead, their singular focus lies in uncompromising efficiency, absolute deterrence, and the mathematical certainty that every single transgression against imperial law will be met with overwhelming, disproportionate force. Over the 38 millennia since the Emperor first walked among men, the Imperium has refined the art of punishment, elevating it beyond mere cruelty into a terrifying, pervasive theology. Every broken bone, every severed limb, every mind hollowed out by psycho-conditioning serves not just to penalize the criminal, but to reinforce the fundamental truth that binds humanity across a million worlds. Individual will must be utterly subordinated to imperial order, no matter the immeasurable cost. The theft of a single hardened loaf of bread thus sets in motion a brutal cascade of events, propelling Cale Morin through stark interrogation chambers and bleak penitentiary cells, through sterile surgical suites where flesh is clinically separated from bone, and finally into the labyrinthine depths of the Imperium's vast correctional apparatus. His impending journey will meticulously reveal the chilling mechanisms by which the most powerful civilization in human history maintains its iron grip on a species dispersed throughout the galaxy, breaking one soul at a time. Cale remains tragically oblivious that his gnawing hunger has already irrevocably sealed his doom. He clutches the stolen bread, attempting to melt back into the surging, anonymous crowd, unaware that 17 distinct surveillance systems have already tagged him for immediate apprehension. High above him, within the opulent spires where the planetary nobility reside, his fate is being coldly determined by algorithms far older than most star systems. Programs that ruthlessly weigh his life against complex statistical models of recidivism, projected productivity loss, and societal stability. Later that same morning, When the Adeptus Arbites judge reviews his case file, she does not perceive Kale's desperate face. She sees only aggregated data. Male, age 23, unemployed for 4 months following textile mill closure. No prior arrests, but 3 citations for loitering near food distribution centers. The system's recommendation is stark: corporal punishment, with optional enhancement to indentured servitude. The judge's approval stamp, emblazoned with the Imperial Aquila, descends with finality. Its ink is still wet when the enforcement squads receive their precise, unyielding orders. In the grim Imperium of man, crime is not perceived as a social problem amenable to rehabilitation or community intervention. It is viewed as a virulent cancer, to be excised with the surgical precision of an entity that has spent 40,000 years perfecting the art of human control. And every petty theft, every whisper of sedition, every fleeting moment of doubt or questioning becomes yet another opportunity to demonstrate the terrible, unyielding mathematics of imperial justice. It broadcasts an unequivocal message: the cost of transgression will always astronomically exceed any possible benefit. Resistance leads only to profound suffering, and the Emperor's law extends into every corner of human existence with the inevitability of gravity itself. The stolen bread in Kale's hands grows cold as he navigates the suffocating maze of shanties and industrial waste that forms the outer districts of the lower hive. He remains unaware that his biometric data is being ruthlessly cross-referenced with employment records, residential databases, and genetic samples collected during his mandatory birth registration 23 years ago. He does not know that a team of Arbites shock troops is already moving with predatory efficiency through the district, their power mauls charged and their riot shields locked into an ominous, ready position. What Kale knows, above all else, is hunger. What he is about to learn, however, is that in the Imperium of man, even hunger itself must bow before the absolute authority of law, and that mercy is a luxury strictly reserved for those who can afford to purchase it with unwavering loyalty to the throne. The tireless servo skulls continue their endless patrol of the market district, their optical sensors tirelessly scanning for the next transgression, the next opportunity to feed data into the vast, ravenous machinery of imperial justice. Below them, citizens move with the careful, almost ritualistic precision of those who understand that every action is observed, every choice recorded, every moment of life subject to evaluation by systems utterly beyond their comprehension. In the monolithic Adeptus Arbites fortress that dominates the hive's judicial sector, processing chambers hum with the constant chilling activity of criminals being sorted, cataloged, and prepared for their preordained punishment. The brutalist walls bear inscriptions in stark Gothic script. Justice is the Emperor's will made manifest. Order through strength. Compliance through fear. These are not empty slogans. They are the ironclad operational principles that govern every aspect of how the Imperium responds to those who dare to place their individual needs above the collective good. Cal Moraine's story is just beginning, yet it follows patterns established across countless worlds and repeated billions of times throughout Imperial history. His seemingly insignificant theft of bread will cascade through myriad levels of bureaucracy and enforcement until it becomes something far larger than a hungry man taking food he could not afford. It will transform into a stark demonstration of imperial power, a brutal lesson in the unyielding consequences of defiance, and ultimately a terrifying warning to any others who might contemplate placing their own survival above their sacred obedience. The machine of justice does not sleep, does not rest, and does not forgive. It only processes, punishes, and perpetuates the endless cycle of control that keeps humanity rigidly bound together under the Emperor's unyielding law. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And even the smallest acts of desperation become crucial battles in that war, fought not with lasers and chainswords, but with the systematic, soul-crushing destruction of human will itself. Cale's fingers tighten around the stolen bread as he hears the first faint echo of marching boots in the distance. The ominous sound grows closer with each passing second, carrying with it the crushing weight of 40 millennia of human civilization, refined into a single terrible purpose: the absolute subordination of the individual to the state, enforced with a precision that would make the ancients weep. The hunt has undeniably begun. 3 hours after the theft, Cale Marine discovers with brutal clarity what it truly means to be seen by the Imperium. The Arbites shock troops arrive with the methodical precision of a surgical strike, their black carapace armor absorbing the dim, flickering light of the Underhive's luminous strips. They do not announce themselves with grand proclamations or shouted warnings. They simply materialize at every exit from the residential block where Cale has sought refuge, their movements perfectly coordinated by vox beads that whisper tactical updates in the clipped, militaristic Gothic of supreme efficiency. The first Arbites enforcer to reach Cale's hiding place does not bother to ask questions. The Lex Imperialis provides no requirement for explanation or dialogue when dealing with confirmed criminals. The enforcer's shock maul connects with Cale's ribs with enough concussive force to lift him entirely from his feet, the electrical discharge scrambling his nervous system and dropping him to the filthy hab-block floor in convulsive agony. The stolen bread falls from his hands, rolling across grime-stained rockcrete to rest against a drainage grate. What happens next reveals the true, horrifying sophistication of Imperial law enforcement. Cale is not simply beaten or executed, though both options remain available depending on the ultimate severity of his classification. Instead, he becomes an integral part of a system that has been meticulously refined through millennia of experience in controlling populations spanning entire star systems. The Arbites do not perceive him as a person with individual circumstances, a history, or any potential for redemption. They see him as a unit of criminal behavior that must be processed according to established, unyielding protocols. The neural collar they lock around his neck serves multiple chilling functions beyond simple physical restraint. Its built-in Vox transmitter allows the Arbites to monitor not just his exact location, but also his heart rate, stress levels, and neurological activity. The insidious device can administer pain directly to his nervous system without leaving any physical marks, making interrogation disturbingly efficient and documentation impeccably clean. Most importantly, it marks him as the property of the Adeptus Arbites, removing him from the general population and placing him under a separate, harsher legal framework, where different rules mercilessly apply. The transport vehicle that carries Cale toward the Arbites' fortress has no windows. Its interior is designed with the same functional brutality that characterizes all Imperial architecture, featuring cold metal benches bolted to the floor and harsh restraint points every half-meter along the walls. Other prisoners sit in an unnerving silence, their own neural collars glowing with status lights that indicate their current processing stage. A young woman with tears streaming down her face bears the distinctive marks of a sedition charge. An older man, missing 2 fingers, shows the unmistakable signs of black market trading violations. Each prisoner represents a different path through the unforgiving system, but all lead to the same grim destination. The Arbites' fortress itself defies easy description. Built directly into the hive's immense structural foundation, it extends both upward through multiple levels of administrative chambers and downward through layers of desolate holding cells, brutal interrogation suites, and specialized punishment facilities. Its architecture serves as both a practical workspace and a potent psychological weapon, designed to overwhelm prisoners with the sheer crushing scale of the system they have dared to oppose. Soaring Gothic arches loom overhead, bearing intricately carved reliefs depicting the Emperor's justice, triumphant over various forms of criminal behavior. The pervasive message is undeniably clear. Individual transgression is utterly insignificant when measured against the eternal, absolute authority of the throne. Kale's processing begins immediately upon arrival. Arbites clerks, their faces obscured by data visors that stream constant feeds of criminal statistics and legal precedents, meticulously record every aspect of his physical condition, genetic markers, and psychological profile. His clothes are incinerated, both to prevent contraband and to strip away any remaining connection to his previous identity. The drab gray prison uniform they provide bears his new, dehumanizing designation, Criminal Processing Unit 7749 Tertius. His name is now secondary, relegated to a mere footnote within his function in the cold, unfeeling system. The interrogation that follows chillingly demonstrates the Imperium's understanding of human psychology, refined to a precise, brutal science. The chamber where they take Kale has been designed to create maximum psychological pressure while leaving absolutely no physical evidence of coercion. The ceiling is too high to provide any comfort, yet too low to allow for true dignity. The oppressive lighting shifts constantly, preventing any adaptation and maintaining a relentless state of stress. The chair where they seat him has been meticulously calculated to provide just enough discomfort to make concentration difficult without causing any injury that might complicate later proceedings. Interrogator Primus Valderisk Kine enters the chamber with the measured, deliberate pace of someone who has performed this grim ritual thousands of times. Her uniform bears commendations for efficiency in criminal processing, and her augmented left eye glows with a constant data stream that informs every single decision she makes. She does not introduce herself. She does not explain what will happen. She simply begins the relentless process of extracting every conceivable piece of information that might be relevant to Kale's case, his associations, and his potential value to the Imperium. The questions come in relentless waves, each meticulously designed to probe different aspects of Kale's criminal behavior and social connections. Who taught him to steal? Where has he sold stolen goods before? Which other criminals does he associate with? The fact that this was his first theft, motivated solely by hunger rather than habitual criminality, is utterly irrelevant to the process. The system operates on the cold assumption that every criminal act is intrinsically connected to larger networks of illegal behavior, and the interrogation will continue until those connections are meticulously mapped or definitively ruled out. When Kale attempts to explain his desperate circumstances, Interrogator Kine's response illuminates the chilling philosophical foundations of imperial justice. She does not dispute that he was hungry or unemployed. She simply notes that millions of imperial citizens face identical hardships without resorting to theft, and that his decision to prioritize his individual needs over imperial law demonstrates a fundamental character flaw that must be corrected through appropriate punishment. The circumstances that led to his crime are not mitigating factors. They are, in fact, undeniable evidence of his unsuitability for unsupervised existence within imperial society. The neural probe that follows removes any pretense of traditional interrogation. Kale's neural collar seamlessly interfaces with machinery that reads his brain's intricate electrical patterns, allowing the Arbites to verify his answers and explore memories he might desperately prefer to keep private. The technology is far from gentle. Each probe session leaves him with severe, throbbing headaches and temporary memory gaps, but it provides the Arbites with absolute confidence in their cold assessment of his criminal potential. What they discover through the neural probe reveals precisely why the Imperium treats even petty crime with such overwhelming, disproportionate force. Kale's theft was not an isolated incident of fleeting desperation. It was, rather, the culmination of months of increasingly desperate thoughts about survival, including passive consideration of more serious crimes like armed robbery or black market trading. His mind harbored deep-seated resentment against factory supervisors who had laid him off, fleeting fantasies about stealing from the opulent hab blocks in the upper hive, and most damning of all, nascent moments of doubt about whether the emperor truly cared about the suffering of ordinary citizens. These thoughts, never acted upon and barely conscious, transformed Kale's case from simple theft into potential sedition. The Arbites' classification system recognizes no meaningful distinction between criminal thought and criminal action, operating on the grim principle that deviant behavior invariably begins with deviant thinking. Kale's neural patterns betray the early stages of the psychological profile that eventually leads to rebellion, heresy, or far worse. From the Imperium's cold perspective, his theft of bread was merely the first visible symptom of a much more serious systemic disease. The case file that Interrogator Kine meticulously compiles during Kale's processing will serve as evidence not just of his individual guilt, but of broader social problems that require systematic intervention. His unemployment will trigger extensive investigations into the factory's closure and its potential impact on local crime rates. His residential area will be marked for increased, pervasive surveillance. His genetic profile will be flagged in reproductive databases to ensure that any offspring receive additional monitoring from birth. In the Imperium of man, individual crimes create ripples that extend far beyond the criminal themselves. Every theft suggests inadequate security. Every act of sedition implies insufficient loyalty conditioning. Every moment of desperation reveals flaws in the social order that must be addressed through additional, draconian control measures. Kale's hunger has thus become damning evidence of systemic failure that requires systematic correction. The determination of his sentence involves complex calculations that reduce human suffering to mathematical precision. Arbites' algorithms ruthlessly weigh his age, physical condition, genetic markers, and psychological profile against statistical models that predict recidivism rates, productivity potential, and overall social impact. The system considers not just what punishment will deter future crimes, but what punishment will provide the greatest overall benefit to Imperial society through forced labor, medical experimentation, or irreversible psychological conditioning. The sentence, when it finally comes, reflects the Imperium's fundamental belief that individual human lives possess value only insofar as they effectively serve the greater good of the Imperium. Kale Morin will undergo corrective surgery to remove his left hand, serving both as a brutal punishment for theft and as a permanent, indelible identifier of his criminal status. Following his surgical recovery, he will be indentured to a mining operation on the industrial moon of Sexus Tiers, where his forced labor will contribute to the Imperium's critical military production for a period of 15 arduous years. The psychological conditioning that accompanies his sentence represents the true, chilling sophistication of Imperial punishment. Kale's mind will be irrevocably altered through a combination of chemical treatments, hypnotic conditioning, and neural implants that will render continued criminal behavior psychologically impossible. He will retain his memories and personality, but his innate capacity for defiance, resentment, or desperation will be surgically removed. When his conditioning is complete, he will be utterly incapable of stealing again, not because he chooses obedience, but because disobedience will cause him direct, agonizing physical pain. As Kale is led to this medical wing for his surgical punishment, he passes through desolate corridors lined with other criminals at various stages of processing. Some bear the fresh, unhealed wounds of recent surgery. Others show signs of advanced psychological conditioning, their eyes holding the vacant, unnerving contentment of those who have been chemically altered to find satisfaction in servitude. All wear the drab gray uniforms that mark them as Imperial property, their individual identities dissolved into the vast, impersonal machinery of correction and control. The medical facility, where Kale's hand will be removed, operates with the same ruthless efficiency that characterizes all aspects of Imperial justice. The surgeons are not criminals themselves, but zealous volunteers who view their work as a form of sacred service to the Emperor. They perform amputations, lobotomies, and neural implantations with the devotion of priests conducting ancient religious rituals, because in the context of Imperial ideology, that is precisely what they are doing. The anesthesia they provide is meticulously calculated to be minimally sufficient, not for reasons of overt cruelty, but for reasons of cold efficiency. Excessive pain relief wastes precious resources and inadvertently reduces the crucial deterrent effect of punishment. Insufficient anesthesia risks complications that might prevent the criminal from fulfilling their future labor obligations. This delicate balance between suffering and functionality has been refined through thousands of years of brutal experience, resulting in surgical procedures that inflict maximum psychological impact while meticulously preserving the criminal's capacity for useful forced work. Kale's surgery takes place in a sterile chamber that processes dozens of similar cases each day. The walls are lined with specialized medical equipment designed specifically for punitive procedures. Bone saws, calibrated for clean amputations, neural probe arrays for precise brain modification, chemical dispensers for hormonal adjustment. Everything is designed for speed and volume, grimly reflecting the reality that criminal punishment in the Imperium operates on an industrial scale. The loss of his hand transforms Kale's relationship with his own body in ways that extend far beyond mere physical disability. The surgical wound becomes a constant, agonizing reminder of his transgression, a source of pain that will never fully heal, and a visible mark that identifies him as a criminal to every Imperial citizen he encounters for the rest of his life. More importantly, it serves as a potent psychological anchor for the intensive conditioning process that follows, irrevocably linking his capacity for criminal thought to immediate, searing physical discomfort. The transport ship that carries Kale and dozens of other condemned criminals to their assigned labor camp represents the final, chilling stage of his journey through the Imperial justice system. The vessel's cargo holds have been crudely converted into temporary holding areas where the newly sentenced are kept during the weeks-long journey to their desolate destinations. The quarters are cramped, poorly ventilated, and designed with the stark assumption that many passengers will not survive the grueling transit. Those who die en route are simply processed as wastage, their bodies recycled through the ship's biological systems. During the journey, Kale undergoes the final, most invasive phase of his psychological conditioning. Daily chemical injections systematically alter his brain chemistry to increase docility and drastically reduce aggressive impulses. Hypnotic sessions, conducted while he is restrained and forced to watch endless streams of Imperial propaganda, reshape his cognitive patterns to utterly eliminate any thoughts of resistance or escape. By the time the ship reaches its desolate destination, Kale's capacity for independent thought has been systematically degraded to the point where following orders becomes more psychologically comfortable than daring to question them. The mining facility on Sexus Terres, where Kale will spend the next 15 years, represents the practical culmination of Imperial criminal justice. Built deep into the moon's unforgiving surface, it combines industrial production with human punishment in ways that serve both functions simultaneously. The prisoners provide essential labor for critical military manufacturing, while their suffering serves as an ongoing, brutal demonstration of the dire consequences of defying Imperial law. Kale's arrival at the facility is processed with the same mechanical efficiency that has characterized his entire journey through the system. His remaining personal effects are confiscated and summarily destroyed. His criminal identification number is brutally tattooed onto his forehead, ensuring that he can never conceal his status, even if he somehow manages a fleeting escape. Most importantly, the neural implant that was installed during his conditioning is now activated, linking his nervous system directly to the facility's extensive control network. The implant serves as both a relentless monitoring device and a potent punishment tool, allowing facility overseers to track his exact location, meticulously monitor his productivity, and administer corrective pain whenever his performance falls below acceptable, predefined levels. The technology is sophisticated enough to distinguish between deliberate malingering and legitimate fatigue, ensuring that punishment is applied only when it will produce desired positive behavioral changes. What Kale discovers during his first days at the facility is that he has entered a society within a society, a closed system where different, brutal rules apply, and individual survival depends entirely on understanding deeply entrenched hierarchies that have nothing to do with justice or fairness. Long-term prisoners, their minds hollowed out by years of chemical conditioning, often serve as informal overseers who maintain order through a combination of ingrained subservience and desperate attempts to curry favor with their captors. New arrivals who show any signs of resistance are quickly identified and subjected to additional, intensified conditioning until their defiance is completely transformed into abject compliance. The work itself is designed to be simultaneously productive for the Imperium and utterly destructive to the individual. Prisoners extract rare minerals used in the construction of Imperial vehicles and weapons, operating heavy machinery that gradually damages their respiratory systems and exposes them to insidious radiation that drastically shortens their lifespans. The facility's medical staff monitor these devastating effects carefully, not to prevent them, but to ensure that each prisoner provides maximum economic value before their health deteriorates to the point where they become a liability. Kale's daily routine in the mining facility follows patterns established through millennia of Imperial experience in managing human livestock. He wakes before dawn to chemical stimulants pumped through the facility's air system, consumes a meager breakfast precisely calculated to provide exactly enough nutrition to maintain work capacity, and reports to his assigned mining section, where he operates equipment that slowly, inexorably destroys his body in service to the Imperium's insatiable military machine. The psychological effects of this soul-crushing routine are as carefully planned as the physical ones. The relentless combination of exhausting labor, chemical, the unceasing cycle of conditioning, coupled with relentless surveillance, systematically engenders a profound state of learned helplessness, rendering any thought of resistance utterly inconceivable. Veterans of this system, those who endure for years, frequently confess an inability to recall any desire beyond the monotonous rhythm of mining, sleeping, and the chemical alterations that now dictate their very existence. A seemingly insignificant act, the theft of bread, has thus metastasized into something far more intricate and horrifying: the total metamorphosis of a human being into a mere instrument of Imperial production. Kale Morin, the man, has been systematically erased. His individual desires, fears, and dreams rendered obsolete. He is now merely Criminal Processing Unit 7749, a chilling designation within a vast database. This digital identity meticulously tracks his productivity, vigilantly monitors his physiological state, and coldly calculates the precise moment for his eventual disposal once his utility has fully expired. Within this same mining facility, where Kale is condemned to spend the abbreviated remainder of his existence, thousands of analogous cases are processed annually. Though each prisoner arrives via a distinct route through the labyrinthine Imperial justice system, their destinies uniformly converge: absolute subordination to the needs of the state. This subjugation is brutally enforced through a tripartite strategy of physical mutilation, pervasive chemical conditioning, and relentless psychological destruction. A process designed to leave the individual sufficiently whole to perform labor, yet utterly shattered to ensure any notion of defiance is permanently eradicated. Indeed, in the grim darkness of the far future, the concept of justice bears no resemblance to restoration, rehabilitation, or even simple vengeance. Instead, it serves as a mechanism for the systematic conversion of human beings into expendable resources, meticulously refined and then consumed in service to the Imperium's insatiable, unending wars. Kale's narrative is exceptional only in its tragic commonality, a solitary thread woven into a vast tapestry of suffering that stretches across the galaxy, encompassing billions of identical fates. The stolen bread, the initial transgression, has long since decayed into dust. Yet, the merciless machinery it inadvertently set into motion grinds onward with clockwork precision, continuously processing new criminals, perpetually refining its brutal methods, and inexorably perpetuating the very system that binds humanity together through the shared paralyzing terror of individual choice and its devastating repercussions. The industrial moon of Sextus Tertius traces its orbit around its parent world with the same cold, mathematical precision that dictates every facet of existence within the Imperium. Its desolate surface is deeply scarred by centuries of relentless mining operations, a ravenous maw constantly feeding the insatiable hunger of Imperial war machines. From the stark vantage point of orbit, the immense mining facility where Kale now toils manifests as a stark, geometric wound upon the moon's crust, encircled by vast waste processing plants, dedicated landing pads for prisoner transports, and formidable defensive installations, all meticulously designed to ensure no unauthorized departure is ever possible. Inside the facility itself, every architectural detail subtly broadcasts the Imperium's chilling mastery of human psychology, scaled for industrial application. The corridors are deliberately crafted to be too narrow for prisoners to walk abreast, a preventative measure against the formation of group bonds that could potentially coalesce into collective resistance. Ceiling heights fluctuate without warning, inducing a perpetual sense of spatial disorientation that actively impedes coherent thought or planning. Crucially, every visible surface is intricately engineered to reinforce the prisoner's degraded status through insidious psychological cues. Floors subtly incline downward, unconsciously fostering feelings of inherent subordination. Lighting imperceptibly shifts, sustaining a pervasive low-level anxiety, and air circulation systems waft the faint, metallic tang of chemical sterilization, a constant, chilling reminder of the facility's pervasive medical control. Kale's initial months within the facility swiftly laid bare the true, chilling sophistication of Imperial prisoner management. His daily routine, far from being arbitrary, was precisely calculated not only to maximize his physical productivity, but also to systematically corrode his very sense of individual identity through meticulously controlled repetition. Each day, he awakens at the identical hour to the same regimen of chemical stimulants, executes the exact sequence of hygiene activities within his strictly allotted time, consumes the flavorless nutritional paste engineered solely for biological sustenance rather than pleasure, and reports to the same mining section where he operates the identical equipment for the precisely mandated duration. The crushing psychological impact of this enforced routine is further magnified by the facility's insidious reward and punishment system, which operates on principles honed over millennia of empirical research into human behavioral conditioning. Minor distinctions in the quality of food, the comfort of sleeping accommodations, or the desirability of work assignments are expertly leveraged to fabricate the illusion that individual choices still bear significance, all while ensuring that every permissible option ultimately serves imperial interests. Prisoners who manage to surpass their production quotas are granted marginally superior sleeping conditions, thereby deliberately fostering a potent sense of competition between individuals who might otherwise discover common ground in collective resistance. The mining operation itself stands as a perverse masterpiece of imperial engineering, meticulously conceived to extract maximum value not only from the moon's rich mineral resources, but also from the human machinery compelled to process them. Tunnels plunge deep into the lunar core, tracing the intricate veins of rare metals deemed vital for the construction of the Imperium's war machines. While the extraction process inherently demands human workers, automated machinery lacking the nuanced adaptability required for dynamic geological conditions. The entire work environment is rigorously engineered to ensure this critical human flexibility is channeled exclusively toward achieving Imperial objectives. Kale wields a plasma cutter, meticulously separating valuable ores from barren rock with a terrifying precision measured in mere millimeters. This formidable tool emits intense heat and pervasive electromagnetic radiation, gradually eroding his cellular structure. Yet, its deleterious effects are scrupulously monitored to ensure his productivity remains optimal for the longest feasible duration, specifically before his health inevitably declines to a point where his replacement becomes an economically pragmatic decision. The facility's medical staff assiduously track these patterns of degradation across thousands of prisoners, perpetually refining their grisly understanding of how to extract the utmost value from their human livestock, while simultaneously minimizing the expenditures associated with any medical intervention. The complex social hierarchy that naturally coalesces among the prisoners is a stark testament to the Imperium's profound insight into human nature. It recognizes that power and privilege structures will invariably emerge in any collective, and critically, that these hierarchies can be meticulously manipulated to serve Imperial objectives. Long-term prisoners, those who have managed to successfully assimilate into the grim rhythm of facility life, are subtly granted minor privileges and informal authority over recent arrivals. This cunning strategy establishes a self-policing system, significantly reducing the necessity for direct oversight by Imperial personnel. These prisoner trustees, their minds warped and reshaped by years of chemical conditioning and relentless psychological manipulation, thus become the unwitting interpreters of the facility's brutal culture for bewildered new inmates like Kale. They meticulously elucidate which behaviors will be rewarded and which will incur swift punishment, painstakingly demonstrate the precise operating procedures for mining equipment, and, most crucially, embody the profound attitude of resigned compliance that epitomizes successful adaptation to the soul-crushing reality of facility life. Their indoctrination proves far more potent than any direct coercion, precisely because these lessons emanate from sources new prisoners initially perceive as fellow sufferers and peers, rather than their overt oppressors. From these chilling interactions, Kale gradually comprehends that resistance within the facility manifests in forms utterly alien to anyone unacquainted with systematic psychological conditioning. Overt defiance is a literal impossibility, thanks to the invasive neural implants that seamlessly integrate each prisoner's nervous system with the facility's omnipresent control network. Any attempt at physical rebellion instantly unleashes acute pain responses, rendering sustained resistance psychologically unendurable. Consequently, the facility, with its precise sensors, identifies and punishes far more subtle infractions, working marginally slower than the optimal pace, neglecting to maintain equipment with perfect precision, or even displaying insufficient enthusiasm during mandatory loyalty demonstrations. The loyalty demonstrations themselves starkly illuminate the profound theological underpinnings of Imperial criminal justice. Every few weeks, prisoners are herded into the facility's vast main chamber for elaborate ceremonies, meticulously orchestrated to blend elements of a religious service, a fervent political rally, and an intensive psychological conditioning session. There, they dutifully recite imperial prayers, absorb recorded speeches extolling the emperor's divine glory, and participate in chilling group affirmations of their profound gratitude for the privilege of serving the Imperium through their forced labor. These are not mere propaganda spectacles. They are meticulously crafted psychological exercises, engineered to deepen the conditioning process by demanding the prisoners' active, vocal participation in their own mental modification. Cale's reluctant participation in these ceremonies serves as a grim milestone, charting his inexorable transformation from an autonomous individual into a compliant imperial resource. The words he is compelled to articulate during these loyalty demonstrations initially register as profoundly alien and acutely uncomfortable. However, with each repeated exposure, a process intensified by the persistent chemical conditioning, these mandated pronouncements gradually begin to feel disturbingly natural. The facility's psychological staff assiduously monitors his responses, meticulously adjusting his medication and conditioning protocols based on his observable level of internalization of imperial ideology. The medical facility co-located with the mining operation offers a stark, chilling glimpse into the Imperium's industrial-scale approach to human body modification. Prisoners sustaining injuries during their arduous labor are repaired with the same ruthless efficiency that defines all facets of imperial administration. However, the singular objective is invariably to restore work capacity, never to alleviate suffering. Fractured bones are reset to purely functional rather than comfortable positions. Damaged organs are swiftly replaced with rudimentary mechanical substitutes, engineered to provide merely adequate performance at the absolute minimum cost. Most disturbingly, profound psychological injuries are systematically categorized as mechanical dysfunctions to be resolved through chemical adjustment, utterly devoid of any recognition as symptoms of legitimate trauma. Cale's missing hand, the raw surgical wound that served as his brutal initiation into the imperial criminal justice system, tragically becomes infected during his third month at the facility. The subsequent medical treatment he endures perfectly encapsulates the Imperium's approach to prisoner healthcare: efficient, effective, and utterly indifferent to patient comfort. The virulent infection is eradicated through the relentless administration of potent antibiotics, which, while effective, induce severe and debilitating side effects. Crucially, no pain relief is offered throughout this treatment, as such medication is coldly classified as an unnecessary luxury rather than a legitimate medical necessity. The facility's meticulously maintained production records reveal a chilling trend. Cale's mining output steadily escalates throughout his first year of incarceration. This increase is not attributable to an enhancement of his skills, but rather to a systematic erosion of his psychological resistance to the labor itself. Through a relentless regimen of chemical conditioning and pervasive environmental manipulation, he becomes progressively incapable of conceiving of any existence beyond the facility's walls. Simultaneously, his intrusive neural implant delivers potent positive reinforcement for behaviors that elevate his productivity. Thus, what commenced as brutal forced labor gradually transforms into the sole form of activity capable of providing him with any semblance of psychological satisfaction. This profound psychological transformation is meticulously tracked by facility psychologists who gauge his progress through a battery of standardized assessments specifically engineered to quantify compliance, productivity, and psychological adaptation. Their dispassionate reports articulate his development in cold, clinical language that reduces the complex tapestry of human experience to mere quantifiable data points: decreased resistance to authority, improved work performance, elimination of escape ideation, and successful integration into facility social structures. These continuous assessments serve a dual purpose, not only to evaluate individual prisoners, but also to perpetually refine the facility's conditioning protocols, basing improvements on empirical evidence of which techniques most efficiently produce the desired behavioral modifications. The facility's communication systems offer yet another chilling illustration of the Imperium's meticulous attention to psychological detail. Prisoners are nominally permitted to exchange messages with family members. However, all such communications are ruthlessly filtered through automated systems that systematically modify their content to align with facility objectives. Outgoing messages are scrupulously edited to expunge any expressions of suffering or desperate pleas for assistance, while incoming messages are cunningly altered to highlight themes of forgiveness, acceptance, and fervent encouragement to cooperate fully with facility staff. These engineered communications thus serve to gradually erode prisoners' vital connections to their former lives, simultaneously fostering the cruel illusion that their own families wholeheartedly endorse their profound and unwelcome transformation. Cale's poignant correspondence with his younger sister serves as a devastating example of this process in full horrifying operation. Her authentic letters, brimming with desperate concerns for his welfare and fervent attempts to secure his release, are remorselessly re-engineered by facility censors. They emerge as messages of detached encouragement for his rehabilitation and fabricated expressions of pride in his purported service to the Imperium. His own responses, likewise rigorously edited to excise any truthful indication of his actual horrific conditions, instead portray his experience as profoundly educational and personally transformative. Inevitably, this manufactured correspondence creates an unbridgeable emotional chasm between Cale and his sister, ensuring his psychological isolation from his pre-facility life becomes absolute. The facility's ongoing research programs stand at the terrifying vanguard of imperial criminal science, brazenly utilizing prisoners as living test subjects for experiments conceived to dramatically enhance the efficiency of human resource utilization across the vast Imperium. These experiments span a chilling spectrum, from the rigorous testing of novel chemical conditioning protocols to the meticulous evaluation of distinct psychological manipulation techniques. Every study is executed with the same unyielding, methodical precision that defines all imperial science, complete with carefully constructed control groups, exhaustive statistical analysis, and peer review by similar facilities throughout the sector. During his second year at the facility, Cale, now a hardened inmate, is involuntarily enrolled as a subject in one such advanced research program. He participates in trials for an experimental neural conditioning technique specifically engineered to dramatically boost work productivity by directly modifying the fundamental brain structures responsible for motivation and reward processing. The invasive procedure entails the surgical implantation of supplementary neural interfaces, granting facility staff unprecedented, precise control over his psychological responses and enabling them to meticulously fine-tune his emotional reactions to every nuance of his work environment. The outcomes of this experimental conditioning far surpass the facility's already high expectations. Cale's productivity surged by an astonishing 30%, and his subsequent psychological assessments documented the complete eradication of any negative responses to the harsh realities of facility life. Even more significantly, from the cold Imperial perspective, he began to exhibit a chillingly genuine enthusiasm for his work, extending far beyond mere robotic compliance with facility regulations. He proactively proposes improvements to mining procedures, volunteers for grueling additional shifts, and expresses sincere gratitude for the opportunity to contribute to the Imperium's incessant war production. This chilling transformation embodies the ultimate, horrifying objective of Imperial criminal justice: the complete conversion of deviant criminal behavior into zealous, productive Imperial service, achieved through the systematic and irreversible modification of human psychology. Kale has not merely been punished for his crime, he has been utterly refashioned into an individual who is psychologically incapable of criminal behavior and, instead, actively motivated to serve Imperial interests with unreserved devotion. His initial desperate act of bread theft, the humble catalyst for this entire process, has ironically become the very pivot point for his evolution from a common criminal into a loyal, unquestioning Imperial citizen. The facility's annual productivity reports meticulously document thousands of similar transformations, each tracing a unique, brutal path through the Imperial justice system, yet all culminating in the same horrifying destination: absolute psychological subordination to Imperial authority, seamlessly coupled with productive contributions to the Imperium's perpetual war efforts. These comprehensive reports are disseminated throughout the Adeptus Arbites as irrefutable evidence of the system's terrifying effectiveness, unequivocally demonstrating that investment in sophisticated prisoner conditioning programs yields quantifiable returns in the form of drastically increased productivity and dramatically reduced recidivism rates. What these reports deliberately omit, deeming it entirely irrelevant to their cold purpose, is the complete systematic erasure of individual human identity that these transformations inherently demand. Kale Morin, the desperate, hungry young man who stole a simple loaf of bread merely to survive, no longer exists in any discernible, meaningful sense. His memories, though technically preserved, have been ruthlessly recontextualized through advanced chemical conditioning, now serving only to reinforce his new identity as a grateful, loyal Imperial servant. His vital relationships with family members have been systematically corroded and severed. His inherent capacity for independent thought has been surgically excised, and his very emotional responses have been chemically restructured, engineered to derive satisfaction exclusively from devoted Imperial service. In the grim darkness of the far future, this chilling transformation is not merely tolerated. It is lauded as a monumental achievement, not a tragedy. The Imperium proudly asserts that it has successfully converted a worthless criminal into a productive, compliant citizen through the meticulous application of advanced scientific principles and cutting-edge technological innovation. Kale's harrowing experience will serve as a foundational case study, used to perpetually refine conditioning protocols that will subsequently be applied to millions of other condemned individuals throughout the vast expanse of Imperial space. Each such conversion represents another resounding victory of order over chaos, compliance over resistance, and the absolute authority of the Imperium over the defiant spark of individual will. The mining facility persists in its relentless operations with chilling mechanical precision, processing both invaluable mineral resources and expendable human materials with identical, ruthless efficiency. A steady stream of new prisoners regularly arrives, seamlessly replacing those whose health has deteriorated beyond any imperial utility. Thus, the grim cycle of conditioning, forced labor, and profound psychological transformation continues unabated, without interruption. Deep within the facility's lightless chasms, Kale now operates his plasma cutter with the very same fervent enthusiasm he once harbored for dreams of freedom. His transformation utterly complete. His integration into imperial society absolute. The trivial bread he stole has long since vanished, consumed by another or discarded as waste. Yet, the monstrous system it inadvertently roused into action continues its inexorable grind with the certainty of natural law. In the Imperium of man, individual transgressions are not merely crimes. They are meticulously seized opportunities for the systematic enhancement of human resource management. Every single criminal becomes a living test case, meticulously utilized for the refinement of techniques that keep billions of human beings productive, compliant, and utterly loyal to the Golden Throne. 3 grueling years into his sentence, Kale Moran has become chillingly indistinguishable from the very machinery he operates. His consciousness has been meticulously calibrated to the relentless rhythms of imperial production. With the same cold precision as the plasma cutter, he now wields deep within the moon of Sextus Tertius. His neural implants, continuously upgraded through multiple iterations of experimental conditioning protocols, have irrevocably transformed his perception of reality to such a profound degree that he now experiences genuine satisfaction from exceeding his production quotas and authentic distress whenever mining operations fall behind schedule. This insidious transformation has progressed far beyond mere behavioral compliance, blossoming into something disturbingly akin to true, willing conversion. When facility inspectors inevitably arrive for their quarterly evaluations, Kale unfailingly volunteers to demonstrate proper mining techniques, speaking with palpable, evident pride about his invaluable contribution to imperial war production. His palpable enthusiasm is not a feigned performance for the benefit of his observers. It is the authentic, unadulterated expression of a mind systematically reconstructed to derive meaning and purpose exclusively within the rigidly defined parameters of imperial service. The facility's psychological assessment reports document this chilling conversion with clinical, dispassionate precision, meticulously noting the complete elimination of all pre-incarceration personality markers and the successful integration of imperial loyalty conditioning directly into his cognitive baseline. What these reports proudly label as successful rehabilitation would, to any observer from earlier epochs of human history, be recognized as something profoundly more disturbing: the systematic annihilation of individual consciousness, replaced instead by artificial drives engineered solely to serve external, imperial purposes. Kale's daily routine has now evolved to incorporate behaviors that were never explicitly mandated by facility regulations, but instead emerge organically from his thoroughly restructured psyche. He routinely awakens a full 15 minutes before the chemical stimulants are dispersed into the facility's air system, utilizing this precious extra time to perform solemn devotional exercises that honor the Emperor's perceived role in his rehabilitation. He maintains his mining equipment with a meticulous care that far surpasses mere operational requirements, reverently treating the machinery as sacred instruments that facilitate his sacred service to the Golden Throne. Most significantly, he has begun to experience acute psychological distress when separated from his work environment for routine medical examinations or necessary facility maintenance periods. The conditioning protocols have triumphantly eradicated his capacity to derive any satisfaction from non-productive activities, rendering idleness profoundly physically uncomfortable and psychologically disturbing. His ever-present neural implants relentlessly reinforce this conditioning, generating positive feedback loops whenever he engages in approved behaviors and triggering intense anxiety responses when he is prevented from working. The facility's research staff have unequivocally identified Kale as an exemplary case study in successful criminal rehabilitation, leveraging his psychological profile as a template for meticulously refining conditioning protocols applied to newer prisoners. His comprehensive brain scan data has been widely distributed to similar facilities across the sector, serving as irrefutable evidence of optimal neural modification outcomes. Furthermore, his behavioral patterns are rigorously studied by the Adeptus Arbites as prime examples of the successful integration of criminal populations into productive imperial service. What none of these clinical assessments acknowledge, or perhaps even comprehend, is that Kale's lauded successful rehabilitation has been achieved solely through the complete and utter annihilation of his inherent capacity for independent thought, genuine emotional attachment, or any semblance of psychological autonomy. The intricate neural pathways that once sparked desires for freedom, fostered meaningful relationships, or sought personal fulfillment have been systematically severed and ruthlessly replaced with artificial connections. These fabricated pathways now produce satisfaction solely when Kale actively serves imperial objectives. The facility relentlessly continues to receive fresh cohorts of prisoners at regular intervals, each new arrival representing another chilling opportunity to further refine the techniques that have proven so terrifyingly effective in Kale's case. Young men and women arrive, their faces etched with the identical expressions of fear, raw anger, and desperate, fragile hope that Kale once displayed. And so, they commence the very same harrowing journey through chemical conditioning, invasive surgical modification, and profound psychological reconstruction that has irrevocably transformed him into a model imperial citizen. While some of these newer prisoners may initially resist the conditioning process with greater vigor than others, the facility staff have, through extensive experience, unequivocally learned that such defiance merely prolongs the inevitable transformation. It never prevents it. The unholy combination of pervasive chemical modification, insidious neural implants, and relentless environmental manipulation proves universally effective across all personality types and psychological profiles, consistently yielding identical desired results, irrespective of individual characteristics or cultural background. The facility's comprehensive annual reports to Adeptus Arbites headquarters meticulously document steadily improving efficiency in criminal processing. Conditioning periods are shortened, productivity rates soar, and mortality during the harrowing transformation process declines. These grim improvements represent thousands upon thousands of hours of dedicated research and cruel experimentation, lavishly funded by the Imperium's cold recognition that truly effective criminal rehabilitation simultaneously serves a multitude of critical strategic objectives. Kale's case file, now several formidable volumes, thick with meticulously compiled medical data, psychological assessments, and chilling productivity reports stands as irrefutable evidence of the system's foundational success. A desperate young man who once stole a loaf of bread merely to stave off starvation has been utterly transformed into a citizen who would literally choose death over failing to meet his mining quotas. His initial criminal behavior has been eradicated not through conventional punishment or deterrence, but rather through the systematic, total reconstruction of his entire psychological foundation. The profound implications of this horrifying success extend far beyond the confines of the mining facility on Sextus Tertius. Countless similar facilities operate throughout the vast expanse of Imperial space, processing millions of criminals annually through comparable programs of conditioning and ruthless modification. Every single success story, like Kale's, provides undeniable proof that human behavior can indeed be controlled with scientific precision. That individual will can be systematically subordinated to collective imperial objectives through the precise application of advanced technology and insidious psychological manipulation. The humble bread that initiated Kale's tragic journey through the imperial justice system has been replaced by something infinitely more significant. Tangible proof that the Imperium possesses the terrifying tools necessary to reshape human consciousness itself, bending it entirely in service to its unyielding objectives. Indeed, every criminal meticulously processed through these grim facilities transforms not merely into a productive worker, but into a stark, living demonstration that resistance to imperial authority is ultimately, fundamentally futile. This chilling truth is cemented by the fact that the very capacity for resistance can be surgically excised from human minds. In the deeper, clandestine levels of the facility, where experimental conditioning protocols are rigorously tested on volunteer subjects drawn from the general prisoner population, research ceaselessly continues into ever more sophisticated and invasive methods of human modification. Neural implants offering even more precise control over emotional responses, potent chemical compounds designed to drastically accelerate the conditioning process, and radical surgical techniques that promise complete personality reconstruction are all subjects of intense, ongoing investigation. These pioneering research programs, with their terrifying scope, naturally attract the keen attention of adeptus mechanicus observers. They discern the facility's work as being entirely congruent with their own arcane investigations into the very nature of human consciousness and its intricate relationship to mechanical systems. This unholy collaboration between imperial justice and mechanicus research represents a horrifying convergence of theological dogma and cold scientific methodology, both applied to the profound problem of human control. The resulting achievements far exceed what either formidable organization could hope to accomplish independently. Kale himself has, without his conscious knowledge, been integrated as an unwitting participant in some of these most advanced research programs. His existing neural implants are periodically upgraded with experimental technology, which continuously furnishes researchers with increasingly granular data concerning the intricate relationship between brain modification and resultant behavioral change. Disturbingly, Kale perceives these invasive upgrades as genuine improvements to his personal capacity for imperial service, feeling a chilling sense of gratitude for the enhancements that supposedly enable him to work more efficiently and ponder his profound obligations to the Golden Throne with greater clarity. The facility's medical staff observe these experiments with the same clinical, cold detachment they apply to every facet of prisoner management, meticulously recording data on neural modification outcomes with the methodical precision that defines all Imperial science. Their aggregated research contributes significantly to a rapidly expanding body of knowledge concerning human consciousness manipulation. This knowledge possesses terrifying implications that stretch far beyond the realm of mere criminal justice, reaching into vital areas of military conditioning, comprehensive civilian loyalty programming, and even profound theological indoctrination. The culmination of this relentless research is a chillingly comprehensive understanding of human psychology, one that systematically reduces individual consciousness to a mere collection of modifiable variables, each precisely adjustable to serve imperial objectives. Love, hatred, fear, ambition, creativity, and even rebellion itself are all revealed as fundamentally neurological phenomena, traits that can be subtly enhanced, ruthlessly suppressed, or entirely redirected through the precise application of chemical, surgical, and environmental interventions. The profound theological implications of this terrifying understanding are certainly not lost on the facility's dedicated staff, many of whom perceive their work. They perceive their work as a form of sacred service, meticulously aligning human consciousness with the Emperor's divine will. Each modification is performed with the profound devotion of priests conducting hallowed religious ceremonies. From their unique perspective, the eradication of individual will in favor of unwavering imperial service signifies a vital spiritual purification, benefiting not only the modified individual, but humanity as a whole. Kale's journey serves as a powerful validation of this theological framework, unequivocally demonstrating that eliminating criminal behavior through neural modification yields not mere compliance, but profound and genuine contentment. He has been liberated from the crushing psychological burdens of individual choice, personal ambition, and the emotional attachments that so often plague unmodified humans and cause them suffering. His neural implants now ensure that he experiences satisfaction exclusively when serving imperial objectives, effectively eliminating the internal conflicts that torment those forced to choose between personal desires and social obligations. The facility operates in precisely calibrated cycles, meticulously mirroring the grander rhythms of imperial administration, marked by regular influxes of new prisoners, periodic technological upgrades to conditioning equipment, and quarterly assessments of modification outcomes. These established cycles cultivate a pervasive sense of continuity and purpose, extending far beyond individual cases to fully encompass the facility's indispensable role within the vast imperial justice system. Newly recruited Arbites cadets visit the facility as an integral part of their rigorous training, meticulously observing the conditioning process and interviewing successfully modified prisoners to gain a deeper understanding of the profound outcomes their future work will produce. These visits serve both crucial, educational, and powerful motivational purposes, vividly demonstrating the formidable effectiveness of imperial criminal justice, while simultaneously reinforcing the recruits' unwavering commitment to the system they will dutifully serve throughout their careers. During one such visit, a young Arbite cadet hesitantly asks Kale whether he misses his previous life or harbors any anger about his treatment. Kale's response, delivered with genuine confusion, rather than a calculated, programmed compliance, powerfully illustrates the absolute completeness of his transformation. He earnestly explains that he simply cannot comprehend why anyone would prefer the inherent uncertainty and suffering of criminal behavior to the profound satisfaction and security offered by imperial service, asserting that his current life represents the ultimate fulfillment of purposes he was previously too bewildered to recognize. The cadet's follow-up questions only serve to reveal her profound struggle to grasp just how thoroughly Cale's consciousness has been reconstructed. She inquires about his family, his former employment, and his dreams and ambitions prior to his arrest. To each question, Cale responds with the same baffled incomprehension, as if she were asking him to articulate his feelings about mythical creatures or explain impossible mathematical concepts. His neural conditioning has not merely suppressed memories of his previous life, it has fundamentally restructured his entire cognitive framework, rendering those past memories literally meaningless within his current psychological context. He retains the memory of stealing the bread that led to his arrest, yet the recollection produces no emotional response whatsoever and seems no more significant than recalling the color of a wall he once painted. The facility's evening routine provides structured opportunities for prisoners to engage in approved recreational activities, meticulously designed to reinforce their conditioning while providing just enough minimal stimulation to prevent psychological deterioration. Cale actively participates in group discussions about imperial history, competitive exercises that involve reciting loyalty oaths with zeal, and collaborative projects focused on constructing devotional artwork celebrating the Emperor's glory. These activities serve multiple, sophisticated purposes beyond simple entertainment. They provide invaluable opportunities for facility staff to continually monitor the effectiveness of individual conditioning programs. They relentlessly reinforce imperial ideology through repetitive exposure. And crucially, they forge social bonds between prisoners that are explicitly structured around shared loyalty to imperial objectives rather than personal affection or mutual support. Cale's enthusiastic participation in these activities unequivocally demonstrates the profound success of his modification in ways that extend far beyond mere compliance with facility requirements. He genuinely enjoys the recreational programs, finding authentic satisfaction in activities that reinforce his conditioning and strengthen his psychological connection to imperial service. His enthusiasm for imperial history discussions and his exceptional skill at loyalty recitation have made him a model participant, often helping to guide newer prisoners through their own daunting integration into facility culture. The facility's intricate relationship with the broader imperial administration vividly illustrates the systematic, omnipresent nature of human control woven throughout the Imperium. Regular, detailed reports flow upward through countless layers of bureaucracy, meticulously carrying data about conditioning outcomes, productivity statistics, and technological innovations. This critical information feeds into Imperium-wide databases that track the effectiveness of various criminal justice approaches across millions of worlds and billions of individual cases. Policy adjustments derived directly from this vast data flow downward through the identical bureaucratic channels, disseminating new conditioning protocols, modified sentencing guidelines, and updated medical procedures to facilities spanning all of imperial space. The entire system operates with the same sophisticated feedback mechanisms that govern imperial military logistics, economic planning, and resource allocation, treating human consciousness as yet another strategic resource that must be managed with scientific precision. Cale's individual case contributes to these larger systemic patterns in ways that extend far beyond his personal experience. His comprehensive psychological profile provides crucial data points for statistical models that predict conditioning outcomes for similar cases. His productivity records help establish baseline expectations for modified prisoner performance. His medical data contributes directly to research programs that continually develop more effective neural modification techniques. The facility itself functions as a vital single node within a vast, interconnected network of similar institutions that efficiently process criminal populations throughout the sector. Data flows constantly between these facilities, sharing invaluable information about successful conditioning techniques, comparing outcomes across diverse prisoner populations, and coordinating research efforts that demand large sample sizes to produce statistically significant results. This interconnected network of criminal processing facilities represents one of the Imperium's most sophisticated achievements in social engineering, effectively creating a closed system where individual criminal behavior is systematically converted into productive imperial service through the meticulous application of scientific principles refined over millennia of grim experience. The broader implications of this system stretch far beyond criminal justice, delving into fundamental questions about the very nature of human consciousness and its intrinsic relationship to imperial authority. The facility's undeniable success in modifying criminal behavior raises chilling possibilities for similar modifications of non-criminal populations, potentially eliminating not just individual crimes, but individual dissent, doubt, or any deviation from imperial orthodoxy. Research programs already underway actively investigate the application of similar techniques to military conditioning, civilian loyalty programs, and religious indoctrination. The ultimate ambitious goal of these programs is the creation of human populations that are psychologically incapable of actions or even thoughts that conflict with imperial objectives, effectively solving the millennia-old problem of human unpredictability that has challenged governments throughout history. Cale's transformation provides a compelling proof of concept for these ambitious programs, unequivocally demonstrating that human consciousness can be modified with sufficient precision to eliminate unwanted psychological traits while meticulously preserving the cognitive functions necessary for productive work. His daily routine within the mining facility serves as a chilling model for what human existence might look like in a future where individual will has been systematically subordinated to imperial objectives through technological intervention. The nights on Sextus Tertius are marked by the facility's transition to a minimal operational mode, characterized by reduced lighting, modified air circulation, and activated sleep induction systems that ensure prisoner rest periods are both maximally efficient and psychologically reinforcing. During these quiet, regulated hours, the facility's automated systems continue their endless monitoring of prisoner vital signs, neural activity, and nuanced psychological indicators. Cale sleeps with the same mechanical regularity that now characterizes all aspects of his existence, his neural implants diligently maintaining optimal brain chemistry throughout the night, and ensuring that his dreams, when they occur, focus exclusively on themes of imperial service and productive labor. The conditioning protocols have meticulously eliminated the random psychological content that defines normal human sleep, replacing it with carefully structured mental experiences that precisely reinforce his modification programming. His sleeping quarters, shared with 7 other long-term prisoners who have undergone similar conditioning processes, starkly reflect the facility's understanding that even unconscious social interactions can be expertly manipulated to serve imperial objectives. The prisoners have been carefully selected for psychological compatibility based on their modification profiles, ensuring that their collective presence reinforces each other's conditioning rather than creating any opportunities for resistance or independent thought. The facility's night shift staff monitor these sleeping arrangements through sophisticated surveillance systems that track not just physical activity, but also neural patterns, sleep quality, and even dream content. This invaluable data feeds directly into research programs investigating the intricate relationship between group conditioning dynamics and individual psychological stability, contributing significantly to the development of even more effective techniques for managing vast prisoner populations. What emerges from this constant intrusive monitoring is a comprehensive and chilling understanding of human consciousness in states of reduced awareness, revealing subtle psychological vulnerabilities that can be exploited to accelerate the conditioning process and prevent the development of any resistance to modification programs. Sleep, therefore, becomes another crucial battlefield in the war against individual will, with victories measured in terms of eliminated dream content and optimized neural patterns. The facility efficiently processes approximately 200 new prisoners each month, with similar numbers either graduating to productive imperial service or being transferred to other facilities for specialized conditioning programs. This constant, relentless flow of human material through the modification process has led to the creation of highly standardized procedures that can be applied with remarkable efficiency across vastly different personality types, cultural backgrounds, and criminal classifications. Each new arrival follows the exact same path that Kale traversed 3 years earlier. Initial processing, comprehensive psychological assessment, medical modification, intensive conditioning, practical implementation, and finally, full integration into the facility's productive population. The system has been relentlessly refined to eliminate unnecessary delays, drastically reduce modification complications, and maximize the percentage of prisoners who achieve a successful transformation into loyal imperial citizens. Kale's role in this meticulously orchestrated process has subtly evolved from mere subject to an informal, yet highly effective, assistant. His completed modification makes him an ideal interpreter of facility culture for newer prisoners who are struggling through the early, disorienting stages of their own transformation. His genuine, unfeigned enthusiasm for imperial service provides a compelling example of successful rehabilitation that is far more effective than any amount of direct coercion in encouraging cooperation with conditioning programs. The conversations between Kale and these newer prisoners reveal the absolute completeness of his psychological reconstruction in ways that formal assessments simply cannot capture. When frightened arrivals ask about escape possibilities, he responds with genuine confusion about why anyone would ever want to leave an environment that provides such clear purpose and profound satisfaction. When they express anger about their treatment, he offers sympathetic incomprehension, as if they were complaining about receiving invaluable gifts they were simply too confused to appreciate. These interactions serve multiple critical functions within the facility's operational framework. They provide newer prisoners with tangible examples of successful adaptation to facility life. They reinforce Kale's own conditioning through the repeated expression of Imperial loyalty. And significantly, they generate invaluable psychological data about the effectiveness of peer-based conditioning techniques compared to direct staff intervention. The facility's research programs have significantly expanded during Kale's tenure to include extensive investigations into collective conditioning techniques that aim to modify entire group behavior patterns rather than focusing exclusively on individual psychology. These innovative programs utilize prisoners like Kale as focal points for group modification efforts, leveraging their successful transformation to profoundly influence the psychological development of entire prisoner cohorts. Kale participates in these programs without understanding their experimental nature, experiencing them as natural extensions of his intrinsic desire to serve Imperial objectives by helping other prisoners achieve successful rehabilitation. His neural implants have been meticulously configured to generate potent positive reinforcement whenever his actions contribute to other prisoners' conditioning progress, thereby creating a powerful feedback loop that makes him an enthusiastic participant in the systematic destruction of human individuality. The facility's success rates have improved consistently during the 3 years of Kale's incarceration, with current statistics proudly showing a 97% successful modification outcome and less than 1% serious conditioning complications. These impressive numbers represent thousands of individual human beings who have undergone the exact same transformation as Kale, each one representing another resounding victory of Imperial social engineering over the inherent unpredictability of human nature. The broader implications of these phenomenal success rates extend far beyond the facility itself, delving into fundamental questions about the future of human consciousness within the Imperium. If criminal behavior can be effectively eliminated through systematic psychological modification, the same formidable techniques could potentially be applied to eliminate other forms of deviant thought, including political dissent, religious doubt, or cultural independence. Research programs investigating these unsettling possibilities operate in chilling parallel with the facility's criminal processing operations, actively using modified prisoners as test subjects for experimental conditioning protocols that might eventually be applied to general populations. These programs represent the cutting edge of Imperial social control technology, with results that could fundamentally revolutionize the relationship between individual consciousness and state authority throughout all of human space. Kale's neural implants include experimental modifications that allow researchers to monitor not just his behavior, but his precise thought patterns, emotional responses, and even subconscious psychological processes. This continuous monitoring generates invaluable data about the intricate relationship between neural modification and consciousness, contributing significantly to theoretical frameworks that could eventually support population-wide conditioning programs. The facility operates within a larger, interconnected network of research institutions that diligently share data, coordinate experimental protocols, and collaborate on ambitious projects that require resources beyond what individual facilities can provide. This vast network includes Adeptus Mechanicus research stations, military conditioning centers, and civilian psychological research programs, all working in sinister concert toward the common goal of developing ever more effective techniques for human consciousness control. The profound theological implications of this research are certainly not lost on facility staff, many of whom perceive their work as directly contributing to the eventual realization of the Emperor's grand vision for human unity. They understand their meticulous modifications of individual prisoners as crucial preliminary steps toward the ultimate elimination of the psychological divisions that currently prevent humanity from achieving perfect coordination in unwavering service to imperial objectives. Kale's transformation serves as irrefutable evidence for this theological framework, powerfully demonstrating that individual human consciousness can be modified to eliminate any conflict with imperial authority while meticulously preserving the cognitive functions necessary for productive contribution to society. His profound contentment with his modified existence even suggests that the elimination of individual will might actually increase human happiness by removing the inherent psychological conflicts that inevitably arise from competing desires and obligations. The facility's daily operations continue with unwavering mechanical precision, processing new criminals, maintaining existing prisoners, and ceaselessly conducting research into ever more sophisticated methods of human consciousness control. The work never stops. The quotas never decrease. And the relentless flow of human material through the modification process never slows. Somewhere in the vast depths of the facility, Kale expertly operates his plasma cutter with the same unbridled enthusiasm he once reserved for dreams of freedom. His mind reshaped so completely that he cannot recall ever wanting anything other than the opportunity to serve the Imperium through productive labor. His neural implants ensure that this contentment is not merely behavioral compliance, but authentic psychological satisfaction with his circumstances. The humble bread that began his arduous journey through the imperial justice system has long been forgotten by everyone, except the meticulous record-keeping systems that track such minute details for statistical analysis. But the profound transformation it initiated continues to produce vast dividends for the Imperium in the form of Kale's daily contribution to military production and his ongoing, invaluable participation in research programs that continually refine humanity's capacity for systematic consciousness control. In the grim darkness of the far future, individual crimes paradoxically become invaluable opportunities for the systematic improvement of human resource management, and every criminal becomes a critical test case for techniques that might eventually eliminate the very psychological foundations of resistance to imperial authority. The formidable machine of justice processes not just individual lawbreakers, but the very concept of individual will itself, grinding human consciousness into malleable forms that dutifully serve the eternal war effort that inexorably defines human existence. The facility's lights dim according to their program schedule, marking another day in the endless cycle of criminal processing, consciousness modification, and social engineering that keeps the Imperium functioning with chilling, mechanical precision. Tomorrow will bring new prisoners, new opportunities for research, and new evidence that human nature itself can be systematically reconstructed to serve purposes far beyond individual understanding or choice. Kale sleeps peacefully in his assigned quarters, his neural implants diligently maintaining optimal brain chemistry and ensuring that his unconscious mind continues to process Imperial loyalty programming throughout the night. His dreams, when they come, focus exclusively on mining quotas, equipment maintenance schedules, and devotional exercises that honor the Emperor's pivotal role in his successful rehabilitation. In the austere administrative levels of the facility, duty officers meticulously review the day's productivity reports and diligently plan tomorrow's conditioning protocols. Their vital work, guided by complex statistical models that reduce human suffering to cold, mathematical optimization problems. Their advanced computers process vast data from thousands of similar facilities throughout Imperial space, constantly adjusting parameters and refining techniques based on empirical evidence of what methods produce the most efficient transformation of criminal behavior into productive Imperial service. The systems never sleep. The monitoring never ceases. And the great machine of human consciousness control continues its operation with the inexorable certainty of natural law. Individual minds are processed, modified, and optimized for Imperial service, with the same chilling efficiency that characterizes all aspects of Imperial administration, from military logistics to planetary resource extraction. What began as a simple, desperate theft of bread has become something far more significant. Irrefutable proof that the human capacity for individual choice can be systematically eliminated through the proper application of advanced technology and sophisticated psychological manipulation. The Imperium has developed formidable techniques for controlling not just human behavior, but human consciousness itself, thereby creating the terrifying possibility of populations that are psychologically incapable of resistance to Imperial authority. The profound implications stretch far beyond the mining facility on Sextus Tertius, beyond the criminal justice system, and even beyond the immediate military needs that currently drive Imperial policy. They suggest a future where human consciousness itself becomes another malleable tool of Imperial administration, modified and optimized to serve purposes that individual minds could never comprehend or willingly choose. In the depths of the facility, machinery continues its endless operation, diligently extracting valuable minerals from the moon's crust while simultaneously extracting individual will from human minds. The two processes operate with identical efficiency, transforming raw materials into refined products that serve Imperial objectives with chilling mechanical precision. The universe continues its relentless expansion into darkness, carrying human civilization deeper into existential conflicts that demand ever more sophisticated methods of social control to maintain unity and purpose across impossible distances and in the face of unimaginable dangers. The techniques developed in facilities like this one represent humanity's bleak adaptation to the brutal requirements of galactic warfare, where individual psychology must be systematically subordinated to collective survival. Kel Marine no longer exists as anything more than a cold designation in administrative databases. His consciousness has been so thoroughly reconstructed that the person who once stole bread to avoid starvation has been utterly replaced by something that serves Imperial objectives with unwavering, absolute dedication. His transformation is complete. His integration into Imperial society is absolute, and his contribution to the great, grinding machine of human civilization is assured for whatever remains of his shortened lifespan. The lights in the facility continue their programmed cycles. The air circulation systems diligently maintain optimal atmospheric conditions. And the neural monitoring networks tirelessly track the consciousness patterns of thousands of modified human beings whose individual stories have been tragically dissolved into the larger, monolithic narrative of imperial social control. Somewhere in the vast administrative archives, a case file meticulously documents the successful resolution of Criminal Processing Unit 7749 Tertius, formerly known as Cale Maureen, age 26, convicted of theft, sentenced to 15 years of indentured labor with corrective modification. The file notes successful rehabilitation, optimal productivity ratings, and a recommendation for consideration in advanced research programs. The file does not note that somewhere in the deepest, most damaged neural pathways of human consciousness, too fractured for the monitoring systems to detect, something that was once individual will continues to scream silently into a darkness that will never end, trapped forever within a mind that has been transformed into a prison more absolute than any physical restraint could ever be. The machine operates with perfect efficiency, processing the next case, refining the next technique, and diligently preparing for tomorrow's delivery of fresh human material to be transformed into productive imperial citizens through the systematic application of technologies that reduce individual consciousness to manageable data streams. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And even the human mind has become another crucial battlefield where the Imperium's victory is measured not in territory conquered, but in souls reshaped to serve purposes far beyond their understanding or consent.